Hey, this is Kev with Blender Binge, back with another tutorial for you. This time we're going to be making medically illustrated stem cell looking thingies. And if you go and you type in stem cells, you'll see like a ton of images that look very similar to this. So I'm just going to say that this is probably the agreed upon way to illustrate stem cells out in the world if you're not looking at it under an electron microscope. Got it? Let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a default cube. So I'm going to select him and I'm going to hit Control 5 on the keyboard. Now, why the heck would I do that? Here's why. If I go over to the modifiers tab over here, that just added in a subdivision surface. So I didn't have to go like add modifier and find subdivision surface and then set all that. So I was just able to do it Control 5. Now, normally I would never hit Control 5 because that would choke most computers. But being that we started with a cube, low resolution, we just get this. So now what I'll do is viewport is set at 5, render I'm going to set at 5. So that way when I hit render later, I don't have an oops, look at that, it looks like crap. It's going to look like pretty much what I want it to look like. Okay, you'll see later. Now, second thing I'll do is I'll create the nucleus. So to do that, I'm just going to go to add modifier. I'm going to say displace, and it makes it huge, not what I want. I'm going to hit new. It makes it small. Again, not what I want. Thank you, Blender. So what I'll do is I'll hit this little thingy over here, show texture tab in show texture and texture tab, which is the same as hitting this. So I'm not sure why these are both here, but hey, that's cool, whatever. So I'm going to hit that, and I'm going to say type, not image or movie, and I'm going to say Voronoi, and boom. Hey, look at that. That's kind of cool. And then distance metric, I'm going to change this to distance squared. There's no real reason I'm doing this other than the fact that I just kind of like the way it looks. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to say object, I'm going to say shade smooth, and then I'm going to go back to my little wrench here for modifiers. I'm going to turn the strength down. I'm going to go negative like 0.3. And look at that. I now get this cool like blobby look. And that's just what I would imagine the stem cell nucleus would look like, because if I ever saw one in real life, which I haven't. And you probably haven't either, unless you're a scientist. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make the membrane. To do that, I think I'm going to add in, you know what, I'm going to just duplicate this, because why not? I have it, like why not duplicate it, right? So Shift D, duplicate it. So click once so it's not tied to this move tool, and then you're going to hit S on the keyboard and scale it up just a little bit. And with this, I can kind of just take down the strength of this. And I can also go ahead and instead of using Voronoi here, I can use like, let's see, noise. I don't like that. Stucci. Let's use Stucci. Stucci. Sounds good. Maybe Perlin. Improve Perlin. Sure, that's fine. That'll probably work for what we need right now. So now let's go ahead and begin to shade this thing. So the first thing I'll do is I'm going to turn on Eevee. So I'm going to go over here to rendered, up this little thing. I'm going to go to my little back of the camera thingy or whatever, render. And I'm going to say screen space reflections. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to turn off half res trace and I'm going to turn on refraction. Okay, I like that. That'll work. And then shadows, I think I'll turn on high bit and soft shadows, because why not? I'm in here, I'll use it. That's fine. And that's probably good enough. I think I have everything set the way I want it, so I'm happy. Yes, happy. So what I'll do now is I will use the shading. So I could go here and use the shading tab, but I think I just want to use this. So I'm just going to go down, pull up a little window here, and I'm going to say shader editor. So now I have a shader editor and we can see everything and it looks great and blah blah. So what I'll do is I'm going to say my original cube, which is the one inside here, I'm going to rename to nucleus. It's not nucleus, not nuclear, it's nucleus. And then I'm going to change cube, double click and say membrane. Insane in the okay, whatever. So check that out. Cool, I like that. Now, okay, so membrane, I have this material. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say transmission all the way up, and you see absolutely nothing happening in here. The reason for that we don't see through this is because they don't give us this by default. So we have to go down here to material, all right, for membrane material. We can go scroll all the way down, and blend mode, I'll say alpha clip. Turn on screen space refraction. Okay, so we'll play with refraction depth, and we're not going to really touch that yet. What we need to do also is realize that nucleus and membrane both have the same material. So let's go to nucleus here. Let's go to the materials tab. Scroll up, and we're going to add a new material to nucleus. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to name this one membrane. And this one I'm going to hit new. I'm going to call this nucleus shader, whatever. And I'm going to hit tab with nucleus, and then I'm just going to hit assign. See, I have nucleus on, assign, and hit tab again. And now I have the nucleus inside there. So for nucleus here, I can go ahead, base color, change it to whatever I want, like red, it's fine. And I could turn the roughness down, make it shiny, leave that as is. And what I can do here on membrane now is I can turn the roughness down, and you see we're seeing through it. Well, that's kind of nice. And what if, see how it's like really refracted? If I don't want it to be super refracted, I could take the refraction depth and kind of play with that. And you can, I mean, you can get like really accurate here, but if you're doing just like kind of artistic looking stuff, you can just kind of leave it as is and find something that you're kind of happy with. And that I'm pretty okay with for now. So roughness here, you can turn that up and give it more of like a rough kind of membrane, but you get the picture. Next, what I'll do is I'm going to play with the world. So I'm going to go over here to object, and I'm going to change this to world. And if I scroll with my mouse and I pull out here, I can see I have a background. Background here, change it to black, nothing, change it to white, see everything. So you can play with this, or you can do something really interesting with this. And go add, or hit Shift A, either one. Go to texture, I'll say Voronoi, I'll color to color, and there I have kind of a cell looking shader. And again, you could put anything in the background here, HDRI, anything you want, but I'm just going to do this for the sake of this video. And then I'll make it kind of a bluish color maybe. So I'll go Shift A, go to converter, color ramp, take Voronoi out here, factor to factor, color to color, and now I can go ahead and change this to whatever color I want. So I'll go like a kind of light blue, I don't know, something like that. And you can play with the scale and just kind of get something that looks somewhat interesting to you. And you can also take another Voronoi, Shift D, take the factor, plug that into like scale, and start getting really kind of broken up looking stuff. So there's a million things you can do here. There's no one way to make anything look cool. I'm just doing this for the sake of the video to throw a background in here and start getting some refraction and reflection in this object. Okay, so next, let's play with the camera a little bit. So I'm just going to take the camera and position it. So I'm going to select the camera, and I'm going to hit Alt R and Alt G. That centers it and clears out the rotation. Now what I could do is select this little arrow up here, and I'll go to rotation on the X. I'll hit 90. That's just going to face it right down that way. Go to the move tool, pull it back a little bit, and now I can hit 0, and there we go. So we're starting to get something that's passable as a decent composition. So now we can work on the lighting. So notice I did not turn on lock camera to view. If you do that, you can kind of scroll around and move the camera around, but I'm going to leave that off for now. And I'm just going to work on lighting. So quick and dirty lighting here. Simply going to add an empty into the center, and then I'm going to add in a light, and I'm going to say area light, and I'll pull that area light up. And then I think what I'll do is I'm going to make that stare at the center. So what I'll do with that is go to constraint, hit track 2, target, choose my empty, and then for this one I'll use -Z, and I'll just leave it at that. It's not active right now because it's not working, but we're gonna change that in a minute. So I'm gonna hit Shift D now to duplicate this guy and pull him around, and you'll notice that he still has the constraint on it. So now all I have to do is just kind of find his happy place, which is on the Y. So you leave that there, just hit up Y, and there you go. So now I have this guy staring straight at this as well. And then I can duplicate him, Shift D, okay, pull him over, and he's looking that way too. So now I have kind of a 3-point lighting setup where I can just find whatever looks cool to me and go with it. So what I can do now is hit 0 again and start playing with the lights. So area light 1 is above us. Okay? I probably don't even need this on anymore, but I'll just leave it for the sake of it. Why not? It's not hurting anything. And I'll say power 150. And I could take the size here, maybe go 25. It's pretty big. And 1500, I start getting something workable. 15,000, I start getting something really crazy. And now you can see that this thing is it's kind of flickering. So to fix that, it's a really quick fix. Not sure this is like a really great solution or not, but you could take viewport here, sampling. So if you go here to render and just turn that down to 0, and that just kind of takes that flicker off for now. So we're not looking at anything crazy. So now I can take these area lights here and I can play around a little bit more. So I can click on the light. So hit area, click on the light, and I can give it more. So let's see, 150 from the side, 1500 from the side, blow that up to like 8, 1500 other side, you blow that up to 18, and then you can move these around and kind of find something that you're happy with. And these work as lights in the real world, so the further you pull them away, the less intense they get. And maybe pull them up on the Z, pull them back a little bit more, and you start getting lights and a look that you can kind of dig. And you can go back and play with these as well. So let's see, if I go to world and I go to object here, okay, roughness is up a bit. You can see you pull it out, pull it in, and start getting something that looks kind of cell-ish. And now what we can also do is I can back out of here. So what I'll do is I'll go to view, lock camera to view, scroll out a little bit, and I can make this guy membrane, hit S, make him a little bit bigger. And now I'm starting to get this shape. So I can also go to membrane here, or nucleus, and what I'll do is I'll turn on some subsurface scattering, and my base color here, and kind of push up something interesting. And the membrane here, I also really play with the strength, and I can also go back to texture here, play with the size a little bit, make it more membraney. Go back here, strength, like -1, and you start getting something usable. Now, what we could also do here is take our area lights, kind of pull them out, and get something that kind of works. So now what I'll do is I can duplicate the heck out of this thing. So I'm going to take off lock camera to view, and I'm going to hit B on the keyboard and select both of these. Oops, I don't want area selected. I just want my nucleus and my membrane selected. Okay, hit Shift D, pull that out. You can scale this guy down a little bit. Okay, let's see, Shift D, pull him out, Shift D, Shift D, Shift D, Shift D, and you start getting something kind of interesting. Lastly here, I can add another light all the way in the back. So I can go add, light, throw a point light in there, turn it way up, and push it all the way back. And maybe take another one here, and pull them in the front. and see what we get. All right, we're getting more light now, looking a little bit better, getting nice reflections off the other lights. They're starting to reflect each other, and I can keep going with this and massaging it until it's something I'm really happy with. But the video will go on and on and on and on and on forever. So at some point we have to keep going. So what I'm going to do here is hit camera, and I'm going to just throw in depth of field now. So I'm going to say camera. I'm going to add another empty in here. This time maybe a cone so I can see it. Hit S. Scale it up just so I can see it. It's not a rendering object, so don't worry about it. And then I'm going to camera. I'm going to say depth of field, focus on. It's going to be empty 001. We could have named it cone, whatever, doesn't matter. And I'm going to say f-stop. It's kind of arbitrary with the Blender units. So if it's not working for you, you can just kind of find your spot if you want, where the ones in the back start blurring out, and then the ones in the front, you know, where your aim is fine. See, now cool thing is about adding this empty is now if I move this guy, so let's say if I move him on the Y back forward, I can control my depth of field, so you can get those like cool rack focus effects. Okay, so you just kind of want to leave him where he was at 0, and that's fine. So now if I render this, we'll see what it looks like. All right, so there's a basic, very basic looking, very clean looking shot of the representation of a cell, of a stem cell. Other things we can do, we can add more lights, we can brighten it up. So let's see what it looks like when I go and duplicate a bunch more of these. I'm going to pause the video and come back with it more duplicated. All right, so here we are back. I duplicated this a lot more times. And another thing you can do is, if you don't like the look of the uniformity of all this stuff, and I generally don't, what we could have done in the beginning and didn't do is take the membrane and change from texture coordinates from local to global. And you can do that on a few of these, the ones that are, you know, visible. And that'll change the look and feel of this, and then you can adjust to your liking. But this looks kind of membrane-y to me now, and I'm kind of digging it. And you can also play with the roughness a little bit and make it a little more thick, a little more globby, whatever, and play around and see if you like it. So if I render this now, we'll see what it looks like. And that's looking pretty stem cell-y. So other than this, you can just go ahead and add a lot more stuff in here, just make it look more, you know, like a more natural environment. But that pretty much gives you the gist of how you would go about doing something like this. So if you like this video, please hit like, subscribe, share it, hit that little bell notification because I keep making more, and I will keep making more of these for you. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye.